everyone please close their cell phones? Thank you. Graduates, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we celebrate the 34th graduation ceremony of the New York State American Program, Sackler School of Medicine, Tel Aviv University. I would now like to invite the graduates of this very special 34th class of the New York State American Program to enter and take their places. Graduates, please be seated. It is now my pleasure and honor to invite members of the Presidium and the faculty to enter and take their places. Professor Joseph Klafter, President, Tel Aviv University. Professor Yosef A. McCory, Dean, Sackler Faculty of Medicine. Professor Arnon Afek, Director, New York State American Program. Dr. Stephen H. Lazar, Executive Dean, New York State American Program. Tommy Lipkin-Sur, Administrative Director and Registrar, New York State American Program. I call upon Professor Klafter, President, Tel Aviv University, to deliver his message.
Professor Yosef McCory, Dean of Medicine, Professor Arnon Afek, Director of the program, Dr. Stephen Lazar, Executive Dean of the program, graduates and their families, colleagues, students, and guests. A special good evening to everyone, especially to our remarkable class of 2014. Remarkable and brave. I say brave because together with brain power, fortitude, and resilience that you took to reach this point tonight, it also took bravery. You ventured far from the comfort zone of home and your country to come to Israel. You persevered and you succeeded. And tonight, we all share in your success. And we feel in our hearts the pride that your parents, family, and friends feel. You're a special cut of medical students. You have distinguished yourself by your devotion to the world of medicine and your enterprising nature to delve into the unknown. You will make your mark not just in the medical profession and the medical world, but in the world at large. Each of you has now joined the ranks of the Sackler family of physicians. Sackler-trained doctors have the strength and weight of Israel's largest and most influential biomedical research and teaching complex behind you. This group, the Sackler family, holds top positions in hospitals and in all medical specialties in the United States. Like the alumni before you, you succeeded in attaining some of the most highly sought after and exceptionally competitive residency spots in America. Mazel tov. On behalf of the Sackler School of Medicine and Tel Aviv University, I wish each of you personal and career fulfillment and continued success in your path ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Klafter. Professor Yosef A. McCory, Dean, Sackler Faculty of Medicine, will now deliver his message.
Good evening, my dear members of the Presidium, families, guests, and dear graduates. Before going to business, let me first of all start with congratulating Professor Arnon Afek for being appointed last week as Director General of the Ministry of Health in Israel. That's a real achievement. So after dealing with politics, let me talk to you, dear graduates. I'm reading this letter to our American graduates, particularly the class of 2014, from my long-term perspective of 38 years in academic medicine and my short-term perspective as Dean of the Sackler Faculty of Medicine. I believe that graduation from medical school is the first greatest event in your medical career. By any standard of measurement, you have accomplished Herculean tasks of intensive studies and acquisition of clinical skills. To be sure, these are major achievements, but one hopes that the most exciting and rewarding part of your professional journey is just starting. Now is a time of major transition. In reaching this point, you clearly have recognized that medical education is akin to a high-speed roller coaster ride distinguished by breathtaking emotional highs and gut-wrenching lows. My objective in writing this letter is to provide you with several simple rules of behavior that, in my experience at least, will help you sustain the highs, keep in proper perspective the lows, and enhance your prospects for a successful practice and fulfilling personal life. First, I hope that you will be decidedly passionate about your life's work. Medicine is a nobling and empowering profession. It will give you the means to accomplish great good and accordingly to feel a remarkable sense of achievement. However, the work is hard, physically and intellectually. If you do not absolutely love your medical specialty, I assure you that there are easier and less stressful ways to make a living. Moreover, just as your specialty training gives you the means to accomplish great good, it also may lead you to cause great harm to your patients. Second, as you enter practice, please dedicate yourself to a lifetime of self-directed learning. The cognitive knowledge you acquired during medical school will probably be outdated within 5 to 10 years, and you simply must stay current with the latest developments if you are to serve your patients well. Nourish the intellectual skills to separate the wheat from the chaff and to practice evidence-based medicine. In medicine, unlike the highway, the best place to be is the middle of the road. Be not the first to adopt the new, nor the last to abandon the old. Care for your patients on the basis of convincing data, not strongly espouse dogma, your own recent worst experience or anecdotal evidence offered by others. Third, be patient. Learn to accept that despite your innate sense of idealism, you will not like every patient that you encounter in your practice. In fact, the lifestyles of some of your patients will be directly responsible for their illnesses, and those lifestyles may be the exact antithesis of your own. Nevertheless, recognize that no one deserves to be ill, and everyone merits our very best effort. Learn to work deliberately and carefully. Most serious mistakes in medicine arise not from lack of knowledge, but from imprudent haste and lack of attention to details. As you spend time with patients, talk sparingly, learn to be a good listener. Remember that in many instances, the best medicine is no medicine at all, but rather the gift of your time and a sympathetic ear, soft shoulder, kind heart, and compassionate soul. Fourth, at all costs, avoid arrogant behavior. No personal trait is more unsettling to patients or co-workers. Do not get too caught up in yourself and the trappings of apparent power, i.e. pagers, personal digital assistants, wireless phones, laptops, stethoscopes, and white coats, etc. Your remarkable scholastic and personal accomplishments will be all the more noteworthy when they are tempered by humility. Fifth, strive for the highest possible level of professionalism. After working in academic medicine for 34 years, I assure you that very few physicians ever fail in their training or practice because of inadequate intellect or lack of manual dexterity. Rather, they fail because they are not particularly likable or trustworthy people. Therefore, work conscientiously to heighten your level of maturity. Strive always to be upbeat and positive. Be part of the solution to a problem, not the cause of the problem. Avoid the company of angry, negative people, for they will be like anchors on your spirit. Learn to honor your commitments. If you agree to do something, do it on time and with enthusiasm. Be respectful, courteous, sensitive, and tactful in your interactions with others. Never be deliberately careless with another person's feelings. Act always in a way that brings honor to you and to our profession. Finally, establish and nourish your personal life. Work diligently to strike the proper balance between home and hospital. In addition to being good to your patients, be good to your loved ones and yourself. Learn to say no kindly but firmly when your plate is too full. Recognize and accept that you cannot have it all. Time always be your scarcest resource. In the final analysis, what will sustain you most effectively throughout your adult life are your relationships with family and friends. You will be able to weather the sea of constant change that confronts us more serenely and effectively if you anchor your life in the bedrock of relationships with close friends and loved ones. So, please rise, turn backward, and applaud to those who accompanied you through this journey. Thank you. I hope that you have great success in all your future endeavors, that you bring honor on our wonderful profession, and that you delight in providing skilled, compassionate care to those people who entrust their well-being to us. Please embrace your new role of a physician with great happiness and justifiable pride, but also with dignity, honesty, modesty, and grace. Make certain your life is well spent and leave our profession better for your presence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor McCory. Professor Arnona Fick, Director, New York State American Program, will now address the graduates.
Good evening. I decided this time not to read from a paper. It's a great chance for me, and to say just few personal words for you graduate families and my fellow teachers. From today, you are no more students or graduates, you are our colleagues. You took a pathway which brought you to Israel, a foreign country where you decided to study medicine. We shared the Israeli healthcare system with you, both our weaknesses as well as strength. You saw us in all conditions, how we live and work in Israel. Remember them when you go back to the States. Remember the people who taught you, and remember the life you had here in Israel, and please be our ambassadors when you are back in the States. When people ask me, how do you have time for your students? I say that this is the best and most rewarding time in my days. The Fridays I spent with some of you that seeked my advice and wanted to hear my advice were gratifying. I never felt for a single second that I'm losing my time, that I could have spent it in the nice bars in Tel Aviv, although I can tell the parents that I've been seeing and walking to restaurants in Tel Aviv. I saw that the students realized exactly where are the best places in Tel Aviv. So please give the message to the other students that come next year. And let me just say one more thing. I'm sure you will be successful. You had a wonderful match, which brought great honor to us. And I want to thank all the people who participated in this match and helped you. And I can promise you that we will do our utmost also in the future to help the other classes reach even higher and better matches than you were. Toda rabba.
Thank you, Professor Fick. Dr. Stephen H. Lazar, Executive Dean, New York State American Program, will now greet the graduates.
The problem with being the fourth speaker is that you hear your speech as you're sitting there. So I thought today that in a day or so, nobody remembers their graduation speaker. But in America, there's a new trend. People are asked to be graduation speakers, and then a month later, they're asked not to be the graduation speaker. And those are the people who are remembered. But gentlemen and lady, we made it, so we're here. I'm always excited as the graduates to be here, as you are. On that note, let me tell you a bit about the program's history and my involvement. In 1976, I read a front-page article in the New York Times discussing the establishment of the Sackler School of Medicine in New York State, and eventually the New York State American Program at Tel Aviv University. I had already given a speech in the early 1970s at the Tel Aviv University School of Medicine at Asaf Arofeh Hospital and was familiar with the institution. I was an assistant dean at a New York City College of Medicine, and I felt that maybe I could do something for Israel because I have a lifelong love for Israel. So I wrote a letter, cold, to the dean of the Tel Aviv University Sackler School of Medicine. And I said that I was a dean in an American school. If there's anything I can do, please let me know. And a month went by, and I felt very bad because I didn't even get a response to my letter. And one night, my wife and I went out to dinner with our friends he happened to be the dean of the New York University School of Medicine. And in the middle of dinner, he said, "Oh, by the way," and he reaches in his pocket, and he's got my letter. And I said, "Where'd you get that from?" He said, "I'm chairman of the committee." He said, "And I am now appointing you as a volunteer, no money." He said, "I'm appointing you as a volunteer to be in charge of the admissions committee and the financial aid committee, and you start next week. We have a meeting." And that's how I got involved. And within a short period of time, I joined the initial advisory group of New York Medical School deans. We were from NYU School of Medicine, Mount Sinai, Cornell, Columbia, Downstate, and Tel Aviv University. All worked very hard to establish this school's affiliation with the United States and Israel and to play a part in designing what would become a world-respected medical school program. It was a wonderful challenge, and everyone volunteered their time and was eager to participate. The goal was to make it possible for students to have a meaningful education while benefiting from the academic atmosphere and the culture of Israel. I played that role for 43 years. And 4 years ago, I was asked by the Sackler Board to be your executive dean. I have now completed 4 years as the executive dean, and I consider myself a member of the class of 2014. And, and I sincerely hope that you'll invite me to your 25th class reunion, and I hope I can make it. How lucky I have been to be offered the position of your executive dean based in New York City, to work with the highly dedicated staff and professors in Israel. But the most exciting part of my job, and I get the chills when I even think about it, is that I sign every one of your letters of acceptance. But it's like a ritual in my office. My secretary brings in the letters, we close the door. I take one letter at a time and I sign it very carefully, and I say to her, I just changed her life. I just changed his life. And I say that, and I'm not joking, I really say that. And then I say to her, don't you dare mail this in an envelope. Don't fold it. Because if any of you graduates are like me, that's a saver. You want that letter. And so she puts it in a green and white first-class envelope, and then we put it into a FedEx envelope, and we mail it to you because I know how important it is. So I join with the faculty and staff at TAU in changing the direction of individuals' lives, and that's an honor and it's a thrill, and it's a privilege for me personally. Since I've been involved with the program since inception, I've seen the quality of applicants grow to where you were more than competitive as compared to other medical graduates throughout the world. And our graduates are more successful than many under hurdles not experienced by your counterparts. Thousands of miles from home, a different culture, patients who speak different languages, who have different customs. You've raised the bar for those who follow. And look where you got your residencies this year. You're the top of the heap, and you are as good as any medical school on the United States or Canadian soil. You really are, and you know that. Your selection for residency programs is based in part on the success of those who preceded you, who proved that the Sackler School could prepare students for the medical profession as well as the finest medical schools in the world. Dedicated volunteers, including Dr. Raymond Sackler himself, and there is a Dr. Raymond Sackler who's still involved to this moment, continue to be active through the present. Dr. Sackler emphasized then and now that this school would reflect the excellence of the faculty, the curriculum, and the goal of making this one of the premier medical school programs in the world. Dr. Sackler was so determined that it would succeed that he gave not only his time and his money, but his name to the program. It worked, and you are certainly the proof. You joined 1,743 men and women in an exclusive alumni club, a club that consists of leaders of the most prestigious hospitals and medical schools in the United States and Canada and in the world. Become an active member of your alumni association. Expand this wonderful experience. Continue this experience. Continue the tradition of excellence. You should be extremely proud to call yourself a graduate of the Sackler School of Medicine, New York State American program of Tel Aviv University. Best of good luck. You deserve it. You earned it. Mazel tov.
Thank you, Dr. Lazar. Dr. Aaron Allen, Deputy Program Director of the New York State American Program, will now address the graduates.
Okay. Now, Professor McCory, Professor Afek, Dr. Lazar, faculty colleagues, class of 2014, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to tell a story similar to Dr. Lazar's story. Less than 4 years ago, I found myself on a flight back to Israel from a medical conference in the States. And while I was waiting to board the plane, I found myself in conversation with a young gentleman who was at that time a first-year student at the Sackler School of Medicine. I asked him, how are things going at Sackler? He said, well, things are great. We have a new dean, Professor Afek, and Dean Lazar. And then there was some uncomfortable silence, and he said, well, it was good meeting you. All of this with outstanding politeness and a convincing smile. Well, within a few weeks, I had met with Professor McCory and Afek and was well on the way to getting involved in one of the best decisions of my life, to join the team at the Sackler School of Medicine. Over the last 4 years, it has been a wonderful and interesting ride through the world of medical education, and I am sure that the best is yet to come. Tonight, that kind and polite student graduates from medical school. So Sam, thank you for bringing me into the Sackler family. I tell this story about myself, not about myself, but really about you, the wonderful graduates seated here tonight. Each one of you had a moment when you decided to become a doctor, and then another moment, maybe when Dr. Lazar signed your acceptance form, when you decided to come to Sackler. How do you look back on your history? And what have you accomplished? And what is in store for you in the future? Those are the questions that we are trying to ask here tonight. Well, where have you come from? You've come from all corners of North America and beyond, from every different race and background, from every school and college, from every different type of pre-medical education, and from every different type of experience. We run the gamut here at Sackler, and we're proud of it. Well, what have you accomplished? You've heard this already. This class has undoubtedly achieved more than any other class in Sackler medical school history, has achieved an outstanding match result, and have in turn become wonderful physicians tonight. Every bar that we have set, you have surpassed it. Every challenge that we have given you, you could have taken it. But then, what is it that awaits you? Well, tonight I'd like to dwell on something which awaits you. One character trait which is often lost from physicians of today, which I believe is unique to Sackler and to its leadership, and a pearl for a successful career in medicine. This is going to surprise you a little bit. That trait is humility. Our tradition teaches us that Moses was the humblest man ever to be created. Clearly, he wasn't a man who didn't achieve anything, or a man when he was given credit that ran away from honor. No, true humility is being able to focus on others and to be able to grow them and build them without focusing on yourself. In medicine, humility is paramount. As a doctor, to focus on your patients and to blend into the background as you help to take care of them. Being humble means being a giver. It means building yourself through building others. It means putting your patient's needs and your colleagues' needs well ahead of your own. It does not mean becoming a wallflower. It means doing it all, taking care of patients, publishing your work, teaching residents and medical students, and making it about the patients, the students, and the research, rather than about yourselves. Tonight, the New York American program says a goodbye, at least in an active role, to one of its best supporters and friends and active participants, a man who, in my opinion, truly exemplifies what is a humble physician. I'm speaking about Professor Yosef McCory. He is an outstanding clinician, a scientist, and a mentor to hundreds of students, but someone who builds others rather than focus on his own prestige. I would like everyone here to give credit to Dean Professor McCory, who is finishing some years at the helm of Sackler School of Medicine. Yossi, thank you for being a true friend to the New York American program and to all of its students. Please, Yossi McCory. Now, you might think that this is a trait which is only at the top, but you know, recently, as we just heard, Professor Afek was appointed to be the top physician in Israel. Now, there have been numerous articles that have been written about Professor Afek, and all of them are wondering why was he picked, and no one can quite seem to figure out why. But everyone knows that the reason that Professor Afek was picked was that he builds teams around him. He builds others without building himself, and he chooses to invest in people, no matter what their station is, in medical training. And that's why he's our top physician today. And that's what we believe here at the Sackler School of Medicine. Okay, that was great, class of 2004. Before I close, I would like to speak to you, the parents, the friends, and the family of the class in 2014. Classmates, you can listen in, but I'm really speaking to everybody else. Your loved ones down here in the first couple of rows wearing these silly black cloaks have worked tirelessly for years to get where they are tonight. For many of them, it has been the struggle of their lives, and tonight is a sense their coming out party. You, the families, deserve a tremendous amount of credit for getting them there and supporting them. But in just a moment, I would like to call on you to give an amazing round of applause. Not yet. For all the times that they didn't give up, for every night that they stayed up late studying, for pure grit and determination. Everybody, let's give the class of 2014 the applause they really deserve. Okay, let's stand and give them an ovation. Class of 2014. Thank you. Okay, guys, I hope you listened to that. That was amazing, and I hope you were really listening carefully, because every day in the hospital, when you answer a page to take blood again at 2 o'clock in the morning, no one will applaud for you. When you deal with a drunk in the ER for the 4th time during that month, no one will applaud for you. And when you counsel a pregnant teen in your clinic, no one will applaud for you. And when you decide to stay just a few more moments with your patient at bedside, holding their hand, no one will know and no one will applaud for you. Because you see, that's what medicine is all about. Those applause could stay in your ears and in your hearts, but being a doctor is about humility. It's about being a giver. It's not about taking applause. So, I wish you tonight the best. I wish you success in every facet of medicine. We are tremendously proud of you here at school. And I wish you the blessing of acting with true humility and taking care of your patients every night of your career with dogged determination without ever once looking for applause. Because you really deserve it, and only you can give yourselves the applause that you deserve. Mazel tov.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. Dr. Shel Shoham, Associate Program Director, Preclinical Education and Curriculum, will now speak to the graduates.
Faculty, honored guests, and graduates, my new colleagues. 26 years ago, I graduated from medical school, and I do vividly remember my excitement. I remember receiving my diploma. I even remember the new outfit that I got for the occasion. But like Dr. Lazar said, for the life of me, I can't remember a word of the sage advice I received that day from the esteemed colleagues and members on the stage. And so, keeping that in mind, I'm going to keep it short. Over the last 50 years, more than 13,000 diagnoses have been added to the ever-growing list of conditions and diseases that plague humanity. Now that you've obtained your MD degrees, at least one family member, somewhere, sometime, is going to ask you about all of the diagnoses that you know nothing about. The truth is that the volume and complexity of the knowledge that we need to master has grown exponentially. And sometimes it's even beyond our capacity to handle. And so my sage advice to you on this day is not to try and be an expert on all the 13,000 diagnoses out there and all of the 6,000 drugs that have been invented to treat them. You guys go and tell your families, your friends, and yourself there are some things that you will just never know. and then set out to continue to be the best in what you can. And remember, it's not just the science of medicine that makes an excellent physician, but the art. You've probably heard me say that ad nauseum times over the past 4 years. It's the art of medicine that's going to help you deal with many of those conditions and diseases that develop secondary to our habits and our behavior. Despite those 6,000 new drugs, without the art, you often have very little to offer. The art of medicine includes subtle qualities like moral judgment, empathy, compassion, the things that are much more difficult to study than the fact-based medical knowledge that you sweated over. But without these crucial competencies, your hard-earned knowledge will often go to waste. Studies show how doctors who score low on empathy have patients with poorer parameters, outcome-wise, and doctors with poor communication skills and a lack of professional behavior often find his or herself visiting courts of law instead of the patient's bedside. I promise to be brief, and I want to leave you with a take-home message that perhaps you will understand and remember. And no, these will not be on the USMLE STEP exams. But anyway, in Cutting for Stone, a book I hope you all will have the chance to read one day, Abraham Verghese wrote, "The key to your happiness is to own your own slippers. Own who you are, own how you look, own your family, own the talents you have, and own the ones you don't. If you keep saying your slippers aren't yours, you'll die searching. You'll die bitter, always feeling you were promised more. Not only our actions, but our omissions become our destiny. Take care of yourselves and of those you love. A good luck to all of you, and a hearty Mazal Tov to all of your families." Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shah. The physician bears an awesome responsibility and confronts issues of life and death. I will now read the revised Hippocratic Oath, known as the Declaration of Geneva. At the time of being admitted as a member of the medical profession, I solemnly pledge to consecrate my life to the service of humanity. I will give to my teachers the respect and gratitude that is their due. I will practice my profession with conscience and dignity. The health of my patient will be my first consideration. I will respect the secrets that are confided in me even after the patient has died. I will maintain, by all means in my power, the noble traditions of the medical profession. My colleagues will be my sisters and my brothers. I will not permit consideration of age, disease, or disability, creed, ethnic origin, gender, nationality, political affiliation, race, sexual orientation, social standing, or any other factor to intervene between my duty and my patient. I will maintain the utmost respect for human life. I will not use my medical knowledge to violate human rights and civil liberties, even under threat. I make these promises solemnly, freely, and upon my honor. For more than 2,000 years now, it has been the custom that a student of medicine, at the conferment of the medical degree, would take a solemn oath to use his or her newly acquired knowledge, tempered with wisdom and compassion, for the benefit of fellow men and women. We have now reached that very special moment when the graduates of the 34th class of the New York State American program will take the solemn physician's pledge. The pledge was formulated by the late Professor L. Halpern on the occasion of the first graduation ceremony of medical students at Hebrew University in Jerusalem in 1952. Professor Arnon Afek will now administer the pledge. Will the candidates please rise, raise their right hand, and at the end of the pledge, graduates are to say, "Amen, so we will do."
Since Professor Alperin wrote or formulated this pledge, every medical graduate in the land of Israel takes the oath as new men and women of medicine. You are charged day and night to be guardians at the side of the sick at all time of their need, even from their mother's womb, and let their welfare always be your chief concern. You shall help the sick because they are sick, whether stranger or alien or citizen, whether contemptible or honorable. And you shall seek to understand the soul of the sick, to restore their spirit through understanding and compassion. Do not rush to bring forth judgment and wait your advice, wisely based on experience. Be true to them who put their trust in you. Reveal not their secret and go not about as a talebearer. And make your heart wise to the well-being of the many, to bring healing for the ailment of the people. Give honor and esteem to your teacher who have led you in the path of medicine. Increase wisdom and weaken not, for wisdom is your life. Honor your colleagues as in honoring them you will yourself be honored. The words of this agreement are most high unto you. They are in your mouth and hearts, that you may do them, and you will answer, Amen. Louder, Amen. Amen, so we shall do. May your efforts to enhance the heritage of medicine grow and multiply.
Please be seated. Professor Yossi Makori, Dean of the Sackler Faculty of Medicine, will now hand the medical diplomas to the graduates. Tommy Lipkin-Sur, Administrative Director and Registrar, will assist in handing the diplomas. Professor Arnon Afek, Director of the New York State American Program, and Dr. Stephen Lazar, Executive Dean of the New York State American Program, please step forward for the conferring of the doctoral hoods of medicine. Physicians who are doing the hooding are invited to ascend the left side of the stage when the graduate is approaching the stage. Graduates in row 1, now please go to the right side of the auditorium and come to the stage as your name is called. Dr. David Joseph Abramowitz. Dr. Constance Abramowitz, David's mother, will do the hooding. Dr. Adam Austin. Dr. Naomi Renee Berzin. Dr. Joshua Borsuk. Joshua was the recipient of the Dean's Award for Excellence for the 3rd year of studies. Dr. Liza Rachel Braun. Dr. Susan Braun, Liza's mother, will do the hooding. Dr. Jeremy David Shemla. Dr. Bibi Chen. Dr. Lucy Atchison, Bibi's mentor, will do the hooding. Dr. Karen Lior Dalalzadeh. Dr. Saeed Dalalzadeh, Karen's father, will do the hooding. Dr. Mark Allen Dunning. Dr. Joshua Michael Davidson. Dr. Jeffrey Davidson, Joshua's father, will do the hooding. Dr. Rana Abbas Fedi. Dr. Joshua Adam Feinberg. Dr. Todd E. Feinberg, Joshua's father, will do the hooding. Dr. Rafi Fredman. Dr. Kerry Fredman, Rafi's father, will do the hooding. Rafi received the Dean's Award for Excellence for the second year of studies. Dr. Bradley Harrison Gampel. Dr. Lucy Atchison, Bradley's mentor, will do the hooding. Dr. Samuel Harry Gartner. Dr. Wendy Gelb. Dr. Madeline Pullman, Wendy's mentor, will do the hooding. Dr. Eve Godsdenker. Dr. Heidi Gold. Dr. Kevin Goldman. Dr. Scott Goldman's, Kevin's father, will do the hooding. Row 2, please rise and go to the side of the auditorium. Dr. Emily Nell Gray. Dr. Miriam David, Emily's mother, will do the hooding. Dr. Shira Heisler. Dr. Sidney Heisler, Shira's father, and Dr. Sarah Zamari, Shira's mother, will do the hooding. Dr. Zachary Arthur Johnson. Dr. Paul Shefflin, Zachary's mentor, will do the hooding. Dr. Micah Benjamin Cadden. Dr. Yashka Kletzer, Micah's mentor, will do the hooding. Dr. Jesse Adam Kane. Dr. Lucy Atchison, Jesse's mentor, will do the hooding. Dr. Michael Kaplan. Dr. Debbie Saunders, Michael's mother, and Dr. Bruce Kaplan, Michael's father, will do the hooding. Dr. Justin Nathaniel Carlin. Justin's father, Dr. J. David Carlin, will do the hooding. Dr. Evan Jean Kessler. Dr. Martin Kessler, Evan's father, will do the hooding. Dr. Pedram Yosef Kohan. Dr. Evan Jared Kravitz. Dr. Kim Lin Kwai. Dr. Andrew Kwai, Kim's father, will do the hooding. Slower. Dr. Miriam Dorman Langer. Dr. Miriam David, Miriam's mentor, will do the hooding. Dr. Daniel Benjamin Lax. Dr. Bradley Cohen, Daniel's uncle, will do the hooding. Dr. Aviel Limas. Dr. Kate Sarah Lieb. Dr. Robert Lieb, Kate's father, will do the hooding. Dr. Felix Litvak. Dr. Jamie Ilana Marcus. Dr. Lindsay Rachel Morrison. Dr. Peter Morrison, Lindsay's father, will do the hooding. Dr. Leslie Ann Naliboff. Dr. David Naliboff, Leslie's father, will do the hooding. Graduates in row 3, prepare to go to the side of the auditorium. Please. Dr. Alona Miriam Nayot. Dr. Chaim Nayot, Alona's father, will do the hooding. Dr. Ilan Noorparvar. Elan's beautiful 5-month-old baby Tamar accompanies him. Dr. Daniel Rebecca Platt. Dr. Alan Platt, Daniel's father, will do the hooding. Dr. Jonathan Plout. Dr. Marshall Plout, Jonathan's father, will do the hooding. Dr. Jessica Claire Polishuk. Dr. Robert Polishuk, Jessica's father, will do the hooding. Dr. Rebecca Ann Proper. Dr. Lucy Atchison, Rebecca's mentor, will do the hooding. Dr. Jessica Rachel Rothenberg. Dr. Michael Paul Schachter. Dr. Joseph Schachter, Michael's father, and Dr. Abigail Schachter, Michael's twin sister, will do the hooding. Dr. Javin Shefflin. Dr. Paul Shefflin, Javin's father, will do the hooding. Dr. Alexandra Jane Schloss. Alexandra's mother, Dr. Madeline Pullman, and Alexandra's mentor, Dr. Michael Kazakov, will do the hooding. Dr. Jeremy Miles Shuby. Dr. Jonathan Schwartz. Jonathan's mother, Dr. Eva Schwartz, will do the hooding. Jonathan received the Dean's Award for Excellence for the first year of studies and for preclinical studies. Dr. Alice Shapiro. Dr. Daniel Jesse Shagalev. Dr. Howard Shagalev, Daniel's father, and Dr. Earl Konsky, Daniel's uncle, will do the hooding. You're welcome. You're welcome. Dr. Suki Kaur Singh. Dr. Yashka Kleter, Sukmani's mentor, will do the hooding. Dr. Lowell Grabowitz Sofer. Dr. Ellen Grabowitz, Laurel's mother, will do the hooding. Dr. Mia Hannah Weiss. Dr. Roy Weiss, Mia's father and graduate of the Sackler School of Medicine, class of 1985, will do the hooding. Dr. Sarah Walensky. Dr. Melvin Walensky, Sarah's father, will do the hooding. Graduates, you may now move your tassels from the right side of your cap to the left side, symbolizing your transition from candidate to graduate. I would like to invite Dr. Cheryl Shum, Associate Program Director, Preclinical Education and Curriculum, to present the New York State American Program's Peer Teaching Awards. Dr. Shum.
Hi again. A peer tutor is anyone who is of a similar status as the person being tutored. The peer tutoring program at Sackler has students in our senior years tutoring their peers in junior years of study. Peer tutoring in our school occurs in small groups, as in our first-year systems physiology course. It occurs in the USMLE Step 1 preparation course that our third-year students run. And it also occurs on a one-to-one basis when peer tutors individually help students experiencing difficulty. Peer tutoring is an official part of the Sackler curriculum, but it also happens every day, formally and informally, as members of our student community help one another. It seems clear from learning theory and from our own experiences that peer tutoring is not necessarily only about transmission from the more able and experienced, those who already have knowledge and skills, to the less able, those who have to acquire them. Peer tutoring is by no means a one-way street, as the gains accruing from the tutoring process to the tutor are also significant. Learning by teaching. This view is expanded in that old saying, to teach is to learn twice. When asked what I am proudest about in the Sackler curriculum and its culture, I often describe the peer tutoring program that we have to others. The altruism exhibited by students participating as peer tutors makes me proud to be an educator at Sackler. Last year, we began a tradition as a pilot. We continued it this year. We would like to continue it by honoring the graduating students who participated as peer tutors in this year's USMLE CS Clinical Skills training course. But I would also like to thank the ready and enthusiastic students in all years of study who gave freely of their time, knowledge, and compassion in order to help their peers.
When I call the recipients' names for the peer tutoring awards, please come to the stage and get your certificate. Dr. Mark Dunny. Dr. Bradley Gampel. Dr. Eve Godsdenker. Dr. Jesse Kane. Dr. Michael Kaplan. Dr. Justin Carlin. Dr. Pedram Kohan. Hey. Dr. Miriam Langer. Dr. Daniel Platt. Dr. Rebecca Proper. Dr. Daniel Shagilev. And Dr. Sarah Walensky. Well, we have a little backup here. Yeah. Dr. Stephen H. Lazar, Executive Dean of the New York State American Program, will now present the Michael Trichter Grauer Memorial Award. The recipient of this award was chosen by the graduates themselves.
Dr. Michael Trichter Grauer was a 1996 Sackler graduate, and this award by his family is to honor his memory. It is given to a graduate in recognition of exceptional compassion, excellence in patient care, and public service while in the New York State American Program. This year, the worthy recipient of the Michael Trichter Grauer, MD Memorial Award is Dr. Evan Kessler.
The representative of the 2014 graduating class of the New York State American Program, Dr. Michael Kaplan, will now deliver his message.
Shalom. Taking this off, it's itchy. Sackler deans and faculty, family and friends, third, second, and first year colleagues, and of course, my very own Sackler class of 2014. Shalom, good evening, and congratulations to the amazing class of 2014. Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mike, a.k.a. Mikey Bear XOXO, a.k.a. Daddy Warbucks. And in a catastrophic error of judgment, my class chose me to address you all tonight. These kinds of things seem to happen here at Sackler. To wrap things up and help shed some meaning in our time together, my class picked the guy who literally thought that the hot caramel market was a giant caramel market. They chose the guy who didn't understand the ending of Frozen, an animated movie for 5-year-olds. In my defense, Jess Rothenberg was texting the entire time, and it was distracting. Also, Elsa's powers are kind of complicated. My own cognitive shortcomings aside, it is an honor to address you all tonight on the evening of my class's graduation from medical school. This ceremony commemorates the single most extraordinary accomplishment of our lives. And to get a good idea of just how far we've come, I think it's only fit to start from the very beginning. 4 years ago, we arrived at Ben Gurion Airport and were welcomed to Israel with a warm embrace, the warmest embrace ever known to man. The heat index, or what it felt like with humidity, reached 125 degrees. It was like walking in a pool of fire, falafel balls, and vaporized cat pee. It was during this sweltering heat that I earned my nickname, Asthma Mike, a title I still enjoy in Emily Gray's phone. Hashtag thanks for the sensitivity, Emily. Yes, it was during orientation that the heat turned me into a pulsating pile of wheezing protoplasm, delirious from hypoxia, and groping for a Shayroot-sized prednisone prescription. And while everyone else was at the beach making friends, I was at the hostel cowering on the floor, waiting for the doctor to come and give me steroids. I guess you can say I wasn't Mr. Popular. So it was nice when we learned a new Hebrew phrase, Hakol Yeh Beseder. Hakol Yeh Beseder, it turns out, is synonymous with Hakuna Matata. It means no worries for the rest of your days. It means that everything's going to be okay. It was a welcome sentiment, one that I was beginning to believe. Until, of course, orientation powered right on, and we met Dazed and Confused. Now, Dazed was a representative of the second-year class sent to our hostel to welcome us to Israel. A rumored poet laureate, Dazed rolled in, strawberry-faced from the sun, and mumbled some words of assurance at us. He took us all to a trendy club on the Tel Aviv boardwalk, which was a bit like going back to a middle school dance, except the smell of cologne was stronger. The middle schoolers all spoke Hebrew, and they could all kick my ass. I left the club that night alone, having made no new friends. I walked back to the hostel until I realized that I wasn't even close to the hostel. I was lost in the middle of a foreign city. I had no cell phone, no numbers of friends to call, even if I had a cell phone, and I spoke no Hebrew. Standing at a busy intersection, I froze in a moment of terror. I was devastated and defeated. It was the lowest I have ever been. Thank you very much. I'm kidding. Ooh. No, there is a happy ending to the story, I promise, but it's not one of these magic Disney endings. It's just one of these things that seems to happen here at Sackler. Orientation finished and med school started. All we did for the first 2 years of school was read stuff. The material never ended. Some of us were cafe studiers, others lurked around the 9th floor, some of us locked ourselves in our rooms and didn't come out for approximately 2 years. The culmination of it all was, of course, the step one, the big board exam at the end of second year. Parents, I am certain you guys remember us freaking out about this. Yes, preparing for the boards was among the most challenging tasks we've ever set out on, though the study materials in retrospect seem a bit ridiculous. In an effort to emphasize associations between groups of people and disease, the people who made the board study materials may have gone a bit overboard. According to our practice questions, for instance, every single woman from the ages of 12 to 40 is pregnant. 18-year-old female presents with a headache, pregnant. 21-year-old female presents with abdominal pain and diarrhea, pregnant. 31-year-old female reports feeling lousy after a bad day of work. pregnant with twins. All of them, even women with rare embryologic defects, rendering them physically unable to conceive, they all manage. We finished off second year by taking the boards. After the 7-hour exam, we celebrated a newfound sense of freedom. We ate cake and drank champagne together. We were victors together. Completing second year was a major milestone. Next were the clinical years. This was when we put on clothes, left our rooms, took buses to our affiliate hospitals, navigated the cats roaming the lobbies, found our wards, and started learning. It became quickly obvious that we needed to learn how to think clinically, how to translate all our preclinical knowledge into real life. And in real life, it doesn't matter if you can answer multiple choice questions about lung disease. What do you do? What do you actually do when there's a 90-year-old woman hacking up thick green gunk in front of you and the room smells like feces because the guy in the next bed is getting a rectal temperature read? The answer was surprising. It wasn't A, B, C, or D. In fact, there was no multiple choice involved. Just foul-smelling tissues in a foul-smelling room, and of course, a sick person looking at you, waiting to be heard, waiting to be helped. We gradually became more and more comfortable with real patients, an adjustment made possible, I think, by taking blood each morning. Here at Sackler, we all showed up early to draw our own patient's blood. Here at Sackler, we were taught that drawing blood is not busy work, but an opportunity to hold your patient's hand, to sit by his side, look him in the eye, and say good morning. Drawing blood was an opportunity to learn of the misery of being poked and prodded day in and day out. We were trained in the most deeply humbling and human of clinical models, and it was this training which I think helped make our third year so meaningful. Our third year came to a screeching halt, though, one afternoon in November. Within the span of a few days, we were catapulted from our studies into real life as violence with Gaza spread north in Israel. And for the first time in 21 years, Tel Aviv was targeted by rocket fire. Over the course of about a week, our hospital studies were interrupted a handful of times by the haunting sounds of sirens and iron domes, and once with a Tel Aviv bus explosion, a reality which made the problem more real than it already was. We slept with our windows open, with sandals by our beds for the next week or so in case anything happened at night. And just like that, really in a matter of a few days, our studies became so clearly contextualized in a framework of life, of real life stuff, and we chugged on. It was during this experience that I realized these kinds of things seem to happen here at Sackler. During our fourth year, we took our Sackler experience to United States hospitals, and after a brief adjustment period, we excelled. We enjoyed drinks in New York together, we shared many interview stories with each other, and then we hopped back on a plane to come back to the Holy Land and wrap it all up. And now, here we are, 4 years later, super jacked, tan, and good looking. Tonight we reflect on the hardships, adventures, and victories alike that we experienced in the process of getting here. And it's remarkable to think that this whole time, unbeknownst to us, we were learning much more than medical theory. We were learning how to sit when we study, how to absorb information at an astounding pace, how to teach ourselves and each other. We were learning how to maintain some semblance of communication with our loved ones while we spoke across the world. On a personal note, I was learning how to speak to my girlfriend of 5 years in a way that didn't leave us both sad and nostalgic. Today we're still together after 9 years, and I could not have done this journey without her. Sarah, I love you. At this time, I'd like to thank my incredible parents, family, and friends for their love and support throughout this demanding process. I'd like us all to stand now, face our loved ones, and give them an enthusiastic, please, round of applause for their endless patience over the past 4 years. To all of you, your support has meant nothing short of everything. More than maintaining relationships, we were learning how to haggle with cab drivers and landlords, how to let go of the impulse to stress out when things don't go your way. Hakol Beseder is actually an essential mindset in Israel if you don't want to stroke out by the age of 30. We were learning how to cook, how to travel smart and hike. We were learning to deal with anxiety, with heat, with bureaucratic balagan. We were learning to become self-sufficient. We were enjoying countless Shabbat meals together. We were making music together. We were playing in the Yom Kippur streets together. We were traveling the country and the world together. We were mourning and celebrating together. This whole time, unbeknownst to us, we were growing up, individually and together. These kinds of things seem to happen here at Sackler. And so at the end of the day, I submit that our school is not defined by orientation hardship or the cats in our affiliate hospitals. And we're not real because of our impressive match list or because of our New York affiliation. We're real because we trained in a place that can't get more real. It can't get more real than learning in hospitals where the length of your white coat is arbitrary, because we were taught it's not the length of your coat that matters, but what's in your head. It may sound like cheap rhetoric, and maybe it is, but the attitude it reflects is anything but. We studied in a place that respected us. It can't get more real than learning in the Jewish tradition, where teaching is an honor, where your resident insists that you call her at 10:30 at night after she puts her daughters to sleep to make sure that you understand the management of sepsis and why we do what we do when we do it. It can't get more real or educational or hilarious than getting completely destroyed by Israeli attending physicians. They are the most fiercely intellectual physicians on planet Earth, and as manners are not always their forte, they have no problems at all telling you how much you suck. In 2 languages. If I can one day be half as knowledgeable as a great Israeli physician, I will consider myself wildly successful. It can't get more real than having sirens interrupt your studies. It can't get more real than looking your patient in the eye and drawing his blood, for they both served as transient yet powerful glimpses into how dramatically different life can be for other people. We didn't get a lecture on cultural diversity or watch a video on patient sensitivity. We lived it. We breathed it. It was our education. And for what it's worth, it can't get more real than celebrating Valentine's Day with all 4 Sackler classes. There is no greater expression of affection and unity than throwing 80 pounds of pudding at your peers. On Valentine's Day here at Sackler, we eat chocolate together. And so I stand here tonight, and from the bottom of my heart, say that I am most proud to carry the Sackler name. The reason is simple. Sackler allowed me to discover what I was capable of. Sackler gave me the opportunity to work, to sweat, to overcome countless fears and obstacles. This is the promise of Sackler, not to make us excellent, but to give us the opportunity to discover our own excellence. To my colleagues, I will not vouch for you because we went to the same med school. I will vouch for you because you are excellent. If you took Sackler seriously on its promise, then you're unique in your experience and your perspective and your breadth of knowledge. If you took Sackler seriously on its promise, I will vouch for you because you deserve to be vouched for. Sackler exposed us to the brightest physicians in what's arguably the most vibrant, diverse, and challenging region of the world. Sackler introduced us to shades of gray in what some understand as a black and white conflict, because it seems as though suffering knows no ethnic or political confine. Sackler gave us not a medical education, but a life education, and tonight we leave Sackler not citizens of academia, but citizens of the world. Tonight, I leave having achieved my dream, having earned a medical degree so that I could help those who are in pain. My class, we all leave tonight having taken the Sackler promise seriously, having grown into our skin, and having lived in the world. And though we might have come to Israel as 60 trembling first-year students, we leave strong. We leave exceptionally well-prepared. We leave a family. These kinds of things seem to happen here at Sackler. Thank you all very much.
Dr. Ilan Ropavar will now present on behalf of the graduates the Best Teacher of the Year Award for Preclinical Studies to Tzvia Paz, Department of Anatomy.
Good evening and congratulations to my fellow students. You guys are amazing. Tonight, I'm honored to introduce one of the most influential figures of our preclinical medical education. I think it's fair to say that Tzvia Paz helped all of us gain a better understanding of the human body. In an age when medical school attendance is becoming, well, increasingly unpopular, she consistently attracted a full crowd to virtually every class. As an instructor of both neuroanatomy and gross anatomy, Tzvia Paz spent more time with us than almost any other preclinical teacher. Her devotion to our learning and understanding of the human body was unparalleled. She selflessly spent what must have been countless hours drawing her own figures for both the laboratory manuals and the 2 study packets she printed and handed out to every student in the class. These packets had illustrations and information so well detailed that students in our class even used them this year to help bring them up to date at the start of their neurology clerkship. As if this wasn't enough, Tzvia Paz created her slides using her very own illustrations. She added arrows and highlighting to give us a step-by-step explanation and understanding of different systems in the body. This interactive aspect of her slides took learning to the next level, which I'm sure was her intention when she decided to put such dedicated effort into them. They provided us with an understanding that would form the foundation for our future studies of the human body. Tzvia Paz has since retired, and future classes will unfortunately not have the privilege of attending and benefiting from her unique lectures. Despite this fact, she continues to have a lasting impression on students through her lab manuals, which are still being distributed every year. Without further ado, Ms. Tzvia Paz.
I must say that I simply enjoyed being with you. It was a wonderful time, and I wish you luck and all the best.
Dr. Samuel Gartner will now announce on behalf of the graduates the Best Teacher of the Year Award for Clinical Studies. The award goes to Professor Yariv Yogev, Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, Bellington Hospital. Professor Yogev could not be here tonight because he has Army reserves, but he left a message for the class that Dr. Gartner will share with you all.
Unfortunately, Professor Yariv Yogev cannot be here tonight due to his miluim, or reserve duty. It is truly a loss for those that have not had a chance to meet him or hear him speak. Professor Yariv Yogev has a personality that is larger than life, both literally and metaphorically. With his large stature, booming voice, and quick wit, occasionally laced with that classic Israeli disdain for the politically correct, Professor Yogev educated us on many subjects during our obstetrics and gynecology clerkship. As Director of Obstetrics and Delivery at Rabin Medical Center's Helen Schneider Hospital for Women, Professor Yogev accompanied many of us as we first witnessed childbirth. He stood by us as we observed and assisted in cesarean sections. He would take us into the rooms of high-risk patients with such issues as eclampsia and multiple births, then walk us into the hall and calmly explain the medical, legal, and emotional complexities of managing such cases. Professor Yogev, having himself studied in a fellowship in the United States, knew what it was like for us to be the outsiders in a learning situation. He rarely missed an opportunity to ensure that we, the English speakers, absorbed everything going on in the room. Translate for the students was a stern but caring command often heard during rounds. Perhaps our most memorable experience was when he spent the extra hour on our final day of the clerkship to regale us with tales of his training both in Israel and in the United States. They ranged from humorous interactions with his neighbors in New York City to philosophical observations about the different healthcare systems in both countries. Serious, insightful, yet uproariously funny, these are stories which we will share and carry with us for the rest of our medical careers. They exemplify the uniqueness of character and breadth of knowledge that comes from living and learning in 2 separate cultures. Professor Yogev encouraged us to take pride in the people we have become by studying in Israel. While it is unfortunate that he cannot be here today, in a way it is special that as we graduate from an Israeli school, a professor cannot attend due to reserve duty in the Israeli Defense Forces. I am proud to present Professor Yogev with the award for the best clinical instructor, and I will now read some brief remarks Professor Yogev has prepared for us. Dear graduates, unfortunately I cannot attend your happy and cheerful day of graduation, which is for sure a day you will never forget. I am honored to be a small part in the existing and long way each one of you passed, and thankful for the honor to be selected by you as one who made an effort to be helpful in your journey. An old Chinese proverb says, teachers open the door, you enter by yourself. I am sure all of you will use the tools you have gained through your academic years in the university, and I hope that you will open the doors to many others in your career. All the best, and again, thank you all. Yours, Yariv.
Before we proceed to the national anthems, Professor Afek would like to speak a few words to you.
Dr. Aaron Allen said rightly that we work as a team. And I realized that there are very important people to me, and I'm sure for you as well, that weren't mentioned here, and they should be. I'm speaking of Shani, Galit, Cornelia, Yael, and of course Barbara. I wish also to thank to former members of our team who are dear to us, who are here today, Leah Schulman, Dr. Diamond, and Professor Schenkman. I thank you very much for continuing your support of the program and showing it by being here with us. And last but not least, we had this year 2 new additions to our program, 2 wonderful people who I'm so grateful for joining us. I'm speaking of Dr. Tali Kapua and Tami Tzur. Thank you for joining us. Toda rabba lekulam.
Dr. Evan Kessler will lead the singing of the American National Anthem, and Dr. Bibi Chen will lead the singing of the Israeli National Anthem. Will the audience please rise for the singing of the American and the Israeli National Anthems? And we will start with the American National Anthem. And now Dr. Bibi Chen will lead the singing of the Israeli National Anthem, and the words are here on the screen. Please sit down. The 34th graduation ceremony of the New York State American program has come to a close. You are all now invited to the Wolfson Engineer Promenade for the graduation dinner party. But first, one more message, please, for the graduates. From all of us in the New York State American program, a hearty congratulations. We wish each of you success and happiness and well-being and a challenging road ahead. And now, you can throw your caps in the air. Please remain seated until the members of the Presidium leave.